I'd like to welcome Hannah Bailey, former Iowa State volleyball player, onto the show. How are you doing, Hannah?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well. I'm so happy to have you on. As we'll talk about throughout this episode, you have a awesome backstory, an awesome story that's still being created right now, and I am so honored to have you on. You were you grew up in Wisconsin, and
Yep.
in high school you won multiple conference titles. You went to the state championship for the 800-meter dash. You also were Under Armour second team All-American and the 33rd ranked player in your recruiting class back in 2015. One of the things that I want to do with this whole series is help other younger athletes who are going through the recruiting process, because when I went through it myself, it didn't work out for me, but I had no information or not a lot of help going on. So sharing information that people experience in different sports, in different environments, and different recruiting levels. So can you talk about your recruiting a little bit?
Yeah, I started getting recruited when I was a freshman in high school, and I didn't have a lot of resources. I had a coach who pretty much helped me get my name out there, but a lot of it was just me reaching out to coaches, coaches reaching out to me, and doing a lot of research. I think that's a big thing is doing your research, getting to know the schools that you are interested in, what they have to offer in terms of like academics and their program history, because they want kids that are like interested and want to come to their school, right? But I started really going to camps. That was a big thing. I would get letters in the mail. Coaches would come watch me play in club, and I would get letters in the mail. And I went to a lot of camps, and that's really how I guess I got recruited. Iowa State, their assistant coach came to my one of my games as a freshman, and I remember seeing her watching the game. And then they mailed me like a camp invite, and I went to camp, and that's really how it started. And at that time I was a freshman in high school. So
Uh, how was that? Like, I don't know if you remember back, but as a freshman, having these college coaches talk to you,
Mhm.
what was that experience like? Were you getting excited? Were you trying to like tone it down a little bit?
It's intimidating. I think you're like what, 15 when you're a freshman in high school, 14, 15. So yeah, it was intimidating. It was exciting, but at the time I didn't know if I wanted to play college volleyball or college basketball. So I had that kind of wing, but yeah, it was really cool. I kind of some days I wish I could go back and do it again because it was fun. It was a fun time.
So you go through the recruiting process, you end up choosing Iowa State.
Mhm.
Why specifically Iowa State? Could you share a little bit of that information or that thought process you were going through at the time, if you remember it?
Yeah. They have a great history in terms of like success. Their program is done really well, and they're in the Big 12 conference, which is a good volleyball conference to play in. And I just really loved Ames. It felt like home to me. It's it's about 5 hours from Cameron, which is really nice because it's a doable drive if you need to in a day or whatnot. And I just fell in love with the coaches and the program itself, and they have beautiful facilities, and it's just a great place. And that's just like the best way to put it. Like Ames is just awesome.
What were some of the other schools that were recruiting you at the time?
Ohio State, Xavier, Kentucky, Nebraska, North Dakota State. Where else? I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, I would get like letters and stuff from schools, but those were the schools that I was really most interested in. Um, I have kind of a family history at Ohio State. My great uncle played football there, so I had kind of an in. And most of my family lives in Ohio, so that was kind of like I was deciding really between Iowa State, Ohio State, and I chose Iowa State. Yeah.
So you get some playing time your freshman year. I believe you played in
Mhm.
4 games, and you make your debut against Marquette, which, if you don't know,
Mhm.
Marquette's a school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Was
Yep.
there any sort of excitement that happened making your debut against a school that was in the state you grew up in?
Yeah, it was fun. It was exciting. I was kind of like a deer in the headlights, I guess, that game. I don't really remember it completely, but as a freshman, it's all very intimidating. At least I was intimidated in the beginning because it's just like I played for one of the top clubs in the country, and I had teammates that were all playing Division I volleyball. So I was used to playing at like a high level in terms of club. But when you play in college, it's just like club to college, and there's just like a big jump. So the change of pace in the game just is crazy. So I definitely was an adjustment, but very exciting, very exciting. It's Hilton Coliseum is a fun place to play. It was really cool.
So, unfortunately, throughout your college career, you dealt with injuries throughout. You had 4 surgeries, one on your shoulder, 2 knee surgeries, and a stomach surgery. But you never, from what I was able to find, you never let that bring you down. You were, all your coaches, all your teammates talk about how positive of a person you are, which I love to hear about because, I mean, I try to look at the positive side of everything. Going through that, how were you able to stay positive throughout that? Because some people might have like just curled up in a ball and given up at that time.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and it's kind of hard to answer. I feel like that mindset and that positivity aspect of it almost comes natural to me. Like it's kind of firsthand. I just never wanted to give up and really just worked on pushing through. And I have a lot of great people in my corner, and my family and my teammates were all very supportive of me. So that kind of extra boost helped a lot. But I read I read a lot of books. I'm like really big into like motivational books and podcasts. So that helped as well. But really just tried to keep looking forward. You know, there was nothing that I could do. I couldn't go back and change what happened. So I just really just accepted it for what it was and just tried to like move forward in a sense.
If there was one book you have to recommend to any athlete to read, what would that, or anybody to read, what book would that be?
I have it over here. It's called Shoe Dog. Yeah, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. He's the original founder, I guess, of Nike. I read that book, and it's a great book. I highly recommend it. It's just like he tells his story of how he graduated from college, traveled the world, and then started making shoes for Nike, and nobody really like believed in him and bought his business plan, I guess, and then he made Nike. So it speaks for itself.
So going into your senior year, there was a lot of excitement. You finally were healthy again, and you end up playing 12 games, and you dislocate your finger and miss 9 games again.
Yeah.
Was that kind of a crushing blow, or?
Yeah, it was.
After everything you experienced throughout college, you had that built up way to like keep fighting, keep going through and return. And you end up starting the last 3 games on the NIVC tournament championship win. Yeah.
Crazy.
What is NIVC, by the way?
It's like the NIT, but for volleyball. I think it's a newer. I'm not, don't quote me on this, but I think they recently did it. Like it's a new thing. I think the year that we played in it was like the second year they brought it back. And we went to that tournament because we didn't make the NCAA tournament. So we wanted to keep playing, and a chance to keep playing a few more games with your friends, you know, why not?
So before we move on from your college career, there's one thing I want to bring up, a video I came across that I think Iowa State did called Car Karaoke.
Yeah. Yep.
Was that fun doing? I mean, you talk about milking cows to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. Yep. I milked cows for a few summers in high school for some family friends and worked for them. And that's what they would play in the morning at 5:30 when we were doing chores and trying to get all the cows up and get motivated to work. And we blast music all the time. So yeah, that's where that came from.
I wish we could do something like that right now, but unfortunately, due to copyright.
I'd love to relive that experience, to be honest.
So your college career comes to an end, and most people might have said, okay, it's time to move on, but you decide to go play internationally.
Yeah.
What type of thought process was that? And how'd you come to choose Sweden as a result as well?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want it to end. I wanted more. I felt like I was robbed my senior year, and I wanted to be able, really, the goal was to play an entire season and not have any injuries, any setbacks, and just get through a season. That's really what I wanted because I never really had that in college. Yeah. And then I found an agent. She actually represented, well, she still represents one of my teammates, but she represented a former teammate as well. And they just put me in contact with her. I kind of told her what I was looking for, sent some film. And she actually played volleyball. My agent formerly played volleyball in the States, but moved to Sweden because her husband is from Sweden. So she lives in Stockholm. So she kind of had an in, I guess, with the Swedish teams. And then she found me in my club, Gislaved, and it was a done deal.
So, what was the adjustment? Recently on the channel, I released a video on Christian Pulisic and his move to Germany, and there being a sort of culture shock with it.
Yeah.
Luckily, 80% of people in Sweden speak English. But
Yeah.
was there still any type of culture shock that you went through going through that process?
Yeah. Yeah. The Swedes are like very in the moment people. Like they're very calm. They're very just kind of like go with the flow, and they're very kind people. And and I lived with another American and a Canadian, and we were just like go go go, kind of like always had to be, doing something. It's kind of hard to explain. Just their culture, they're just very like calm and collective, like if it is what it is type of vibe. So that was a little bit of an adjustment, and that's really about it. I mean, everyone in Gislaved was very welcoming of us. They were very helpful. We definitely stuck out like sore thumbs because we were all very tall and definitely obviously American. So but we would get a lot of stares. But other than that, they were great people as a whole, just the Swedes are.
So, coming out of college, what's it like for someone who let's say another volleyball player comes across this and doesn't know what to do when it comes to going the professional level? What's the sort of process going through all that?
Yeah, you just really have to find an agent. That's number one. And make a YouTube channel, put some games on there from college, like your best probably 2 or 3 matches, and then a highlight film. That's really how you kind of get you get started, is YouTube channel, find an agent.
What was some of your favorite parts of playing the international game? I know it was different. You ended up moving back to the third line, but still playing on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a difference in the game versus the American game compared to the Swedish game or international play?
Yeah. The style of volleyball that's played in the Big 12 is very like fast paced, very tempo-esque, like quick sets. The players are very physical. They're very tall. They're very, just their presence. And in Europe and Sweden, it's more like finesse. The players are a little bit shorter. The sets are a little bit higher. So it's a little bit more of like finesse and skill, and just, I would say maybe a little bit slower in a sense, but just because the players aren't as tall, they're not as physical, I guess you could say, as they are here. But it was fun. It was really fun. I got to play against people from all over. I played against a girl that is on the Colombian national team, and she was phenomenal. It was fun to play against her. She was crazy good. But got to play with Canadian, the Swedes. I played against a few people from Finland, from Germany, from Greece, all over. So that was really cool.
Unfortunately, the season was cut short due to COVID-19, like literally right before your guys' playoffs.
Yeah.
So you returned to the United States again. What was the experience, especially playing going through that process of, did you guys have any heads up, or was it the day of you, like, no heads up, guys were shutting down the season? Or did you guys see this kind of coming with the way, looking back a year, the way things went down?
It was crazy because the night before we found out that we were going home, we were sitting in our living room talking just about how COVID was like a joke on TikTok. Like, people were making jokes about it, you know? And we were kind of just like playing out scenarios like, whoa, like what if this thing actually like is real, you know? The next day, former President Trump was going to make a press conference, I think it was, about how they were going to shut the borders down. So when we heard that, we panicked because we were like, well, what if we can't get back into the States when our season's done? Like, if we're stuck here and we are getting paid because our season's not going on, like insurance, like what if we get sick? Like, there's just too much unknown, you know. It was for us to stay and risk it, just, it wasn't worth it to us. And then our season, we went home in like 24 hours. We got on flights and came home because we didn't know what to do, you know. And our season actually ended up getting canceled the next day because of the playoff season. The playoffs never happened. So we made the right call, but still, it still stings to this day. I will tell you that.
You mentioned before we started recording that you unfortunately tore your ACL in October.
Yeah.
Once you're fully recovered from that, do you plan to go back overseas to try to play and finish that one complete season? Or are you planning to see where life takes you now?
The second option. I think that I've just maxed out on what I can take in terms of injury. My knee injury about killed me. So I think I'm going to try to find a new hobby. I've been slowly getting back into CrossFit. I did CrossFit before I got hurt. So I am working my way back up to being 100% in terms of that. So finding a new hobby, but I'll still play for fun. One of my best friends loves to play volleyball, and we'll probably do some tournaments together this summer and play together. So find a new hobby.
What is, looking back at your whole journey that you've been on playing volleyball all this time, if there is some advice you could give to younger athletes, or even just athletes going through things around our age, what would that be?
The biggest thing I think that's helped me through all the adversity that I've been through is to remind yourself that everything is temporary in life. So try to take things 24 hours at a time. That's what I kind of still tell myself today when I get stressed. Take things 24 hours at a time and just stay positive and utilize your resources, reach out to people. There's so many resources out there now available, books, podcasts, and just utilize those, but really just to stay positive. And like I said, take things 24 hours at a time because it's all temporary in the end, you know.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Yeah. Where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is just mine. So it's Han, HAN, Banan, BANANA. Or I can't spell banan. Oh my gosh. It's Han Banan. Okay. Han Banan, 2 underscores. Feel free if you have any questions about playing overseas or college volleyball or whatever it is. Don't hesitate. I'm an open book and I'm willing to help whoever needs it because a lot of people helped me. So.
And what's next for you? What's the plan going forward?
That's a great question. I really want to establish my career. I'm in a good place, I think, here, and I really want to just learn a lot and work my way up and really dive into my career. And to get healthy, my knee is at about 90%. So just slowly getting back and getting it strong and working out again. And yeah, just seeing where life takes me next.
Thank you so much again, Hannah. Guys, go follow her on Instagram. let me know if you enjoy the series. Make sure to leave a comment in the section below of some questions you want me to reach out to these athletes, because maybe we'll do a round 2 in the future. Maybe we'll do a round table.
Whatever you need.
Let me know. Thank you so much, and remember to embrace the grind.